Hey, hello, founders. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Giuseppe Battista. I'm a senior solutions architect at AWS. I work primarily with pre-Series A, early stage startups, and I'm here with my friend, former colleague, and partner in crime, I guess, Jason from MakeOps. Jason, how's it going?
Yeah, very good. Great to be here.
Sounds great. This is your second time live here at AWS Startup Garage or Garage. I still don't have a quorum on what's the right way of saying it. But we're streaming live on LinkedIn and on Twitch at the same time. But we obviously prefer folks from LinkedIn. So if you're on Twitch right now for whatever reason, please do come down to LinkedIn because we can have a better conversation with you, and we can get to grow our community. And as well, this is our experimental community area when we have like selected founders that we have invited to these smaller groups to kind of experiment with the kind of content that we're doing. We're also experimenting with the idea of like doing this sort of sessions that are a little bit less scripted than the other stuff that you see us doing maybe on twitch.tv/AWS or on other channels that are officially owned by AWS, so that we can try to experiment with new type of content. And today, I think it's a kind of a different experiment. We are trying to do some live coding, having an unscripted way of discovering stuff, and as well as a solutions architect, we or like you, Jason, as well as a former solutions architect, we kind of come back with a lot of questions with our customers. Most of the time, my answer is well, apart from it depends, but most of my time is like, hey, I actually need to do some research about this because I clearly have no clue. But that's also a fantastic way to learn. And at AWS, we're given the possibility to spend, I think, between 10 or 15% of our time every week or so to actually, sharpen our saw or like building cool stuff that we can use with customers. I guess that the bulk of questions that came out from my latest interaction with my customers in the last few weeks is, hey, but how do we actually automate stuff? And some of the customers came to me and say, hey, there's this fantastic tool called n8n. Jason, you as well, you discussed with us, I think a couple of weeks ago, about this automation framework that has also a self-hosted features. I think you can self-host it on your AWS account. So I think today we want to explore that. As I was saying, we haven't massively scripted this. We have a number of things that we want to talk about. I did a little bit of research this morning, really, between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. Before actually getting into work. But I'm not 100% sure how this is going to go. And please, founders and friends on the chat, just help us. And you can jump into that at any moment and help us guide our intuition. So please do feel free to intervene. I'm having a look at the chat right now on LinkedIn. So please do let me know. And hey, Daniel, thank you so much for joining. And I guess, Jason, I'll stop talking for a second and I'll let you maybe
No
give
worries.
your give your perspective on this automation framework, and why do you see it becoming increasingly popular with the founders or like some of your customers. I think last time we spoke, you said, I'm actually even using it to automate some of the stuff that I'm doing, and I'm really, really interested in automate some of the things that I'm doing myself, for my day job, but also for all of this like content creation sort of things. So yeah, I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, I think the best way to describe it is that when you're a software developer or you like have a technical leaning, you tend to be lazy. And I think also my perspective, having worked a lot with like infrastructure, DevOps, those kind of things, is as far as possible, you should be looking to automate as much as possible. And I think, especially when it comes to the world of AI, and more recently in building my own company, I think if you're able to leverage AI and automation effectively, then you can effectively scale yourself a lot better. And you'll know this a lot from working at AWS. Everyone talks about how do you scale yourself. And there's a couple of tools out there in the world of AI automation, and there's companies that have been around for a long time that do this. But the one that I think has gotten a little bit of hype recently, I'd say, is n8n. I think I'm not quite sure the reason, but I think the main reason is just because the user interface is quite good. Having tested out a couple of the different options, I've tried it, and I think in terms of being able to actually construct workflows, I think it gives a good UI. And if we get it working today, we'll actually see how that operates. And especially for me, like when it comes to some of the non-technical stuff, like marketing, running social media accounts, those kind of things. It's kind of like a given that you have to do these things these days, because it's a very good channel to get new customers. It's a way to highlight your credibility as a founder, especially if you want to attract people to come and work with you, or you want to attract new clients. It's important that you have some social presence, because if you try and reach out to someone and no one knows who you are, it's really hard to convince them to become a customer. And so things like social media, that you have to be posting quite regularly, or you have to find someone to pay to do that. And especially if you're a small company with not that much cash available, it makes sense to try and automate that as much as possible. Because apart from the, I guess, design side of it, like the actual content, because I do think there needs to be an authenticity behind the content. The actual mechanisms of posting it and scheduling it and all of these things is it's undifferentiated, right? And
Yeah.
the motto of AWS and just automation is in general is, if it's undifferentiated, if you're having to schedule these things, or you're having to click publish on certain websites, it's a lot of hassle, and it's just a perfect place to automate.
Yeah, I completely agree. And even for the management of this page, or the management of the various, I would say, thought leadership activities that we do at AWS, I'm looking for an automation framework. To be honest, some of the things I could do it with, I don't know, maybe step functions, or even coding it myself. But there is a limit to how much code can I write every day, even with AI assistants and all that sort of stuff. And sometimes you want to have something that is replicable, or that you could even pass to your own customers. And this is one of the reasons why I've been looking into n8n, because my customers are coming to me and say, hey, how do I actually run this on AWS? And some of the reasons that they come to me with is that I've been using n8n on their hosted platform, but there are some other workflows that I would like to keep closer to my chest, in terms of where the data resides, or the kind of access to the resources that the workflow might have. And so having a self-hosted alternative, I think it's really a winning move for n8n itself, because at the end of the day, you could have a very minimal installation onto your AWS account, but maybe for the rest of your teams, the hosted version is more than okay. And so I think that this is, there's an advantage in having the same know-how available to all of your I don't want to say developers, or maybe your product engineers, all of the folks that are working for you, and or with you at your own startup. So
Yeah.
that's the reason. I think the customers that I work with, they come to me and they're asking this type of question. So I want to spend my 10% of like sharpening the saw in actually makes it happen. I'm completely new, kind of sort of, to n8n, so we'll rely heavily on Jason's expertise. I think you told me you told me you have a little bit of experience with that. I don't want to put to throw you under the bus in here. So what we're trying to achieve today, I think, it's to think through the various way of how you might want to deploy this onto your AWS accounts, and then try a few, maybe the one that we know that we might be able to get up and running in our AWS accounts. So
I think one last thing to add, and especially if you're a startup founder or if you're like working for a startup, is one of the things you want to try and optimize for is the increasing the amount of experiments that can happen inside of your organization. And I think that's where some of these tools that have already got a following can really help accelerate that, because there's a lot of templates being built. There's a lot of like sort of movements within the n8n ecosystem, in the AI ecosystem, just in general. There's a lot of movement, but you want to give your teams the ability to have that innovation. And so I think having platforms where it's kind of standardized because other people use it, but it's also something that you could like adapt and improve on once you find something that's really working for your team, then it's definitely worth having tools like this available to your team. And especially if it has a it's kind of like the build versus buy mentality. Like if you just buy it and you check and see if people enjoy using it and you're working with it, then you can maybe implement it yourself if it is something core to your business. But you want to be able to give people that option to be able to build something. And it also will take away resources like developers, because developers tend to be quite expensive in terms of the hours that they have, and you really want to put them in charge of your most sort of business critical stuff. And if you have your best developer working on some sort of marketing automation, then it's probably not a very good use of that resource. And so having platforms like this means that you could have a marketing team that were interacting with it, and they can create certain workflows around the sales process, around marketing, and they could do that using templates that they find online. And obviously we want to do it in a way that's secure and safe. So providing a tool like n8n or some of the other ones out there gives you that platform. And I think it's especially good for early stage companies because of that flexibility that you get.
Yeah, how do you scale yourself if you are actually able to import some work that has already been done somewhere else? And it's in a way, I like it because of the open source mentality that it's been built around the fact that you can host it on your AWS account for the most sensitive kind of workloads, or your data for maybe compliance reasons, or something that you might want to look into, or even just because you might want to start experimenting, or really, really, really small. We have seen a few kind of deployment avenues that can be really, really cost effective, especially on AWS. Of course, you will not have the full firepower of maybe the hosted solution, or maybe running it into like an EKS cluster or something like that. But again, the idea here is to get you started as soon as possible. Even when you're in a team of like just yourself or a few developers that come together. I work with a lot of startups where most of the the development team for the first couple of months was just like maybe one or two people, so you can build on that. And I think that like if you have a way to build workflows, maybe visually, or like built on top of I'm reading now they have almost 2,600 workflows for automation and templates that you can actually reuse. So that's quite interesting. And
I also like the so one of the things that I've seen a lot is that it's being used by like sales, marketing, like content, like these kind of areas. But I think there's also a way that you can adapt it to maybe use it as like, within the DevOps domain, right? So I think people are obviously gravitating to the stuff that the business people like to do, but as a developer and as a software team, you could start to create, automations within your infrastructure. Obviously, like there's certain things like deployments you might want to use CloudFormation for. But for instance, maybe for support use cases, if you have like some place where you need to do like collection of logs or do these kind of processes, having a tool where you can just create it like quite relatively quickly to see if it works for your team could be very beneficial. And I kind of like this idea of bringing these tools into the DevOps domain and into the platform engineering domain. Because like again, like you don't want to write code as much as possible, and as you can use Claude and some of these tools to do that for you. But I think just the being able to pull in templates and build stuff quickly allows you to just get that speed of iteration a lot quicker.
If I'm thinking of the kind of use cases that are really close to my quote unquote business, right? Because I do a lot of content for AWS, and I think this year we'll have a couple of shows on Twitch. We will have a few AWS GenAI lofts. I think one is going to be in Manchester. Another one is going to be here in London. I think we've done one in Dublin. So there's a lot of content that comes out of it, but also there are many, I think many content occasions or like content opportunities that we are leaving on the table just because we do not have the time or the scale to actually do it. So I think some use cases related to, say, for example, grabbing this full video that we're recording right now and maybe extracting the transcript, removing all of the filler words that I'm using and I shouldn't, but and then finding the highlights, maybe publishing those highlights to Twitch, or maybe helping me in creating the pre-promotion or the post-promotion of the, I don't know, a live event that we're going to do in the future. Or we used to build these PR packages that we give to the customers that we are inviting onto. Let's build a startup, for example, a show on Twitch, and then we publish it out on the community.aws. So all of this is kind of repetitive tasks that in a way could be easy to automate to like 80% and then have like 20% of the fine-tuning of the content leave to the human, in this case myself, or like my colleagues who patiently work with me and put up with my shenanigans, like Jason, you used to do and now you still do it.
Yeah, but I think like there's also I think it's important when you get started with AI tools and automation is like not to get carried away with it. It's similar within the software domain. I think I believe very highly in this like do things that don't scale mentality that you have out in the startup world. And the reason you do that is like you want to be the one doing all of these different steps so that you know for sure that it's worth automating, because you can automate for automation's sake and then you completely miss the mark in terms of what you're doing. And I think you having done all of this like manual work, you kind of already know where in the sort of workflow you're not adding value. And so you now have a very deep understanding of like where it makes sense to automate. And I think even just with like AWS in general, you see a lot of people like going straight to like infrastructure as code and all these things, and they're like building these really complicated things without actually having played around with the services themselves. And in the same sense, it's like you don't actually understand where it makes sense to add automation and add software, and that can lead to a lot of problems because you end up implementing or over implementing or over engineering rather than like really understanding the problem. It can be applied everywhere, like products, all that kind of stuff. You really want to know what it is that you're doing before you automate something. But I think we were already 20 minutes in and we haven't even opened up the terminal. So maybe we should,
right.
maybe we should get started. Or how do you want to go through it?
I don't know if you still have some of the already implemented flows that you that we were discussing about before. Maybe just to give an idea, like to the folks who haven't seen n8n before. And by the way, chat, if you have any questions or if you have any comments, please do let us know. I'm continuously having a look at the chat, just to understand a bit more about your background, why you're here, what you'd like to do to get out of this, and just to recap, what we're trying to do in the next hour and 40 minutes is we are going to think about how to deploy this to AWS the various way. That we have like 17 ways of deploying containers on AWS. So we'll explore some of those. But yeah, the most important bit is like your input as well. And also, if you see us struggling onto something that the answer to, please do let us know. As I was saying, like this is the time that we spend to sharpen the saw, and like we want to sort of try to milk as much content out of this. Jason, I see your screen. Can I share your screen right now?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's go. So what's that? What are you using that for?
So this is the n8n sort of interface that you get. I've just started off using the cloud version which they provide. This is just because I'm quite new to n8n in terms of creating workflows and stuff like that. But I've built one or two workflows. This is the one that I've got to create. Basically, what it does is I have a blog that I host on Webflow, and what I wanted to do is take the blog content, split it up into different sort of LinkedIn posts, and basically be able to post it into LinkedIn automatically. It doesn't quite do all of those parts, but I can kind of just walk through some of the different steps. So you get kind of like a typical kind of workflow view. And you can see here, you basically create different blocks. And you can, I think if I go into, I think if I can edit it, maybe here. Oh, this is the editor, but with each of these blocks, you can kind of double click on them and get sort of information that helps you to create each sort of step. You can also drag in, I think if you press up here, you can add different integrations. So AI, there's some typical sort of main flow-based kind of actions. There's also there's a lot of integrations that n8n has just by default. You can go onto their website to check that out. But I'll walk through the workflow. So basically, it starts off with a form submission. So the way that it looks here is you get like a test URL, and the form submission URL looks something like, I think if I can maybe just flip over to here. Maybe I need the production URL. So you get like a URL like this. And it starts off with a Webflow item ID. So this is just within the platform. I've got each blog has its own ID. I don't think I'll run it because I don't have an ID on me on hand. But basically what it would do is it takes the ID. The first step is to go and fetch the item from Webflow. So that pulls down the full blog. The Webflow blog is in HTML. So it does a conversion to Markdown. I think maybe if I've got an execution here, maybe this might be able to. Maybe we can see some of the data that comes out. So here you can see like a workflow item, and when this is for the Webflow action, you can see it basically pulls out information. And here in this output, you have basically the HTML format of the blog. The next step is just to convert it to Markdown, because what I wanted to do is use Bedrock with the Claude model. It's just because I'm very used to Claude. I know how to prompt it well. So it converts to Markdown and then puts it into this LLM chain block. So here you can see the post body. I think there is a Markdown content. Feel free to stop me at any point because I do tend to go quite fast. But you can see here the Markdown content. I've provided a prompt which if I press this little button, we can see
Yeah,
the
that'd
prompt.
be interesting to see.
Yeah, so I'm following typical kind of Claude Anthropic best practices on how to prompt here. So using sort of the YAML, this XML kind of style.
Mhm.
But when you providing data, you can actually use this double bracket quotation kind of system. And that means that it's really quite easy to pull in pieces of information. So this
Can
prompt is
you summarize a bit about like what the prompt is actually doing, like in the context of you've got an article, you have extracted the markdown from the HTML. Now you're passing this markdown to an LLM, but what are you doing with it?
Yeah, so basically what I want to do, so the idea is to create basically draft LinkedIn posts. And what I want to do is take it's not just about sort of chopping it up, but I also wanted to target a specific kind of audience, right? Because I've got a specific type of target audience. It's usually, potentially it's like smaller businesses. So because the content, this is for like, supply chain stuff. So the content can be quite dense and enterprisey. So I've provided a target audience to Claude in the prompt. And so basically what I've said is like, this is my marketing goals. This is my target audience. Here's the article. And through that, basically go through and devise some LinkedIn posts and then respond in this kind of format that allows me to extract later. So basically, Claude is going to take the full article, the target market or the target audience, the goals of my campaign, and then basically craft these LinkedIn posts. And I've only done 3 because I think there is limitations within like the context. So if you have like a very large context, then sometimes the details of the text can kind of be lost. But basically what it would output is I think if I go back here, it outputs the basic prompt response, which would be the typical XML kind of style. So here you can kind of read it. It's basically talking about warehouse management, some of these kind of topics that I've recently written about in the blog. The next stage is this sort of HTML extract. So from here, because the output is in this kind of like XML kind of format, you can use an HTML parser to pull out each individual post. It then does a split operation because this is one prompt, now splitting it into sort of 3 individual rows. And you can see this is one of the benefits of n8n that I've found is just this like interface. As a developer, it kind of makes a lot more sense to kind of see the JSON coming in, that I've got the configuration in the middle, and I can see the JSON, the schema, the table coming out. And this just like improves how I've been able to build a lot better. There's a few clean operations. I've also added in a schedule. So part of the idea was that I want to schedule maybe 1 week after I've done the post, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks. So here this is a code block. So I've provided like a little bit of JavaScript code. So it's mostly hard coded at this point, but I've basically put 1 day in the future, 2 days in the future, and then that's combined into the schedule. And then from there's a merge with the URL generator. So what I'm doing is in every LinkedIn post, there's also, click here to see the article. So I've taken the item and just constructed the URL, merges them together, and then puts them into, I just use Google Sheets as a data store. And then this HTTP request is basically firing off into like I use like a social media scheduler, but it basically will fire off and schedule it into that tool. So here you can see kind of like the things like processing dates, IDs, but the actual content you can see over here along with the article URL over here.
And there's, I know, there all of the things that you've shown here, they, I could easily like get a Lambda function and script through all of this, right? So, but I guess that's not the point. The point is that you are enabling the parts of your team that maybe are not as technical as you are to actually still build automations, but also you have a way to interact with it in a low code, and also, if you will, like something that it's really easy to understand. Because I think, when you get in touch with a new repository, it might be intimidating as well. Whereas like having this representation is quite handy, I think, and this is what drew me as well through n8n. And I think there are similar tools like that on the market, but the other reason I gravitated towards it is actually the fact that I can self-host it. And this is, I mean, we'll try to prove today if we are actually able to self-host it. And so thanks Jason for that demo. I think it was really helpful to understand why this is useful, and why a lot of funders that I work with, they're gravitating towards it. So let me see. So
I'll just say that the last bit is obviously I do believe that you should have a human in the loop. So I've just the as I mentioned before, don't automate everything straight off the bat, because there are hallucinations and you do need to keep a quality check. So I just have it to schedule as a draft, and then I will go and review it manually, because I have a certain bar. But yeah, that's essentially the last part is, it depends on what your business is and what you're trying to achieve. But I think maintaining a little bit of a handle on things, especially in the early phases, is good, because you can keep the quality good, and you can make sure that you don't damage your brand by posting stuff that's factually incorrect. There's obviously ways you can prompt the language model to be more or less accurate, but yeah, you want to just always bear in mind that there are things like hallucinations that can potentially say things that are false. But yeah, that's just the last thing I would say on the workflow that we saw.
Yeah. And okay, so I was joking about the fact that there are 17 ways in Amazon to deploy containers, but this is actually, the kind of dread that I woke up this morning to. I was like, okay, so we kind of signed off on doing this n8n thing. We haven't scripted too much, but let's do some sort of research. Let's see how we can actually do it. And again, one of the things that I tend to do to get some sort of consensus from either the developers that I trust, or reaching out to communities. So one of the stops that I go to is community.aws to actually see if there's any interesting articles about the things that I'm trying to do, because community.aws is a place where customers and Amazon employees are floating with information, and it really helps me as a solutions architect, but I guess as the partners as well, to not only establish their brand, but also capitalizing on the work that has already been done by others. So if you bumped into this sort of problems before, that's a great place to go.
Yeah.
And so
I guess that's one of the great things about AWS is just the extent of the partner network, and the amount of people that actually make use of it on a daily basis. So a lot of the community.aws posts are partners, or people who are building on behalf of other people, or people who've implemented it themselves. Even myself, in the last week, I've seen a few opportunities where there's something in AWS that it doesn't quite work how you think it should, and so there's a bit of knowledge that needs to be shared. And that resource is something that I think is really, really useful to have. It's just the amount of people using it and writing content about AWS.
And so I've seen an article from somebody, and we'll see it later, but there was an option to deploy n8n to ECS, and I've seen that the official quote unquote way of doing this should be on EKS. But to be honest, especially for early stage startups, I think we might find a different way to keep costs down to also keep the complexity down, because it's not just about the sheer cost of it, but also making sure that you have an infrastructure that to a certain degree you can wrap your head around. In the past, working with startups or like being the CTO of startups, I was always trying to kind of keep all the whole infrastructure in my head, and sometimes I was able to do that, other times I wasn't. But so we also research a little bit of other ways. So the first thing that comes to mind is usually just trying to see if we can dump it on an EC2 instance and make it work. But actually, the one that I think that I would like to start from is actually Lightsail, because a couple of customers showed me that they can do stuff on Lightsail that I didn't think it was actually possible. So I would like to start with that. I've also been introduced to I think called Easy Panel, and that's quite interesting, because it has a template to deploy n8n on whatever Linux box you might have. So I might want to try and maybe fire up my my AWS account and see if there's anything that we can do with that. Just let me see.
I'm a big fan of Lightsail, by the way. I think it's I think it's very underrated, and I'll tell you why. It's because a lot of people in the sort of indie community of indie hackers and like small sort of solopreneurs or whatever they're called these days, worry about the AWS like rolling costs. And I think that, as you were talking about complexity and trying to keep it in your head, sometimes the costs can be variable. And for a lot of people, especially if you have a fixed budget, having like a fixed cost is quite good. And Lightsail is actually one of those areas where you can get like a $5 a month instance. And so I really like that fact of it, where it's just like a fixed bill. But it's also like, I've seen they've added databases, I think you could even spin up notebooks and stuff. And it's super easy to like get going. And it's similar to like what we were just talking about with why you would use n8n, is like having like that velocity. If you have a team who are not super expert at AWS, is if you can give them a platform, even Easy Panel or like Lightsail, where they can like spin up instances and test stuff out and experiment a lot faster without having to always like tap on your shoulder or reach out on Slack and, hey, can I get an instance to test this out? The more you can enable that acceleration and testing and experimentation, the better it's going to be. So I really like Lightsail for that sort of ease of use point.
Absolutely. So let's try to get it up and running. So this is kind of sort of a new AWS account that I spun up in the last few months. I guess I haven't used it that much. And by the way, on Lightsail, there's you can use an instance for free for 90 days. So if you want to just try it out, it has a good I would say free tier. Let me just, because and also, like, as you can see, like the I would say the experience is extremely rationalized. So you have I would say a light version of the AWS console. So you have instances, containers, databases, the networking layer, the storage layer, maybe the management of domains and DNS, some snapshots. So this is kind of the a good starting point, because as you if you go back here and like you start, okay, so like this is all of the things that you can do on AWS. In terms of some of the customers that are not initially familiar with AWS, they say, oh, this is super daunting. But
I guess
actually,
maybe what would you say is like the reasons why you wouldn't use Lightsail, or like why would, I mean, there are, I can think of a few, but maybe from your side, where would you use EC2 instead, or Kubernetes, or because there might be a few use cases, but I don't know if you have any specific ones where. you'd say Lightsail's not?
Well, I mean, that I think the trade-off is like the access and control, and like if you are an expert in AWS, you probably run all of the mileage that you can do with Lightsail quite fast. And I'm thinking of or I mean, on my side, like I don't use Lightsail that much, so I'm more used to like writing my infrastructure as code. So maybe if you're like a seasoned AWS user, that's where I wouldn't go. And how about the use cases that you have in mind? In the meantime, I think I'll try to create an instance.
Yeah, no, I think it's just like there are obviously, because like the Lightsail instances are like a confined kind of, it does run on EC2, but it doesn't necessarily have all the features of EC2. So if you want to like start attaching multiple like EBS volumes, or if you want to do EFS and some of those things, it's not as simple. But yeah, as a like getting started point, if you wanted to just do like a 1 week sprint POC, get it up and running, see if it actually works for your use case, I think Lightsail is very good. But one of the benefits of EC2 is that just the scalability, where you can just start to add more storage as needed, and you can have like very sort of bespoke kind of instances. But yeah, let's what are you going through there? What's the
so I was thinking so this is one piece of the puzzle. So we are looking at like getting a machine on AWS that has some sort of I don't know, maybe a DNS name, or like that you can reach out from the internet. And I think like Lightsail is quite the right choice for that. And I was also having a look at like the simplified choice tree that you have here. So for example, I don't know how, but it shows automatically London as my zone. So I was originally into Ireland and switched here, and like when I selected, okay, I just want to create something, it switched to zone availability zone A within the region of London, so EU West to A. It's great because I didn't have to think about that. Let's see if it works okay. And then you see here, there are some applications and on top of the operating system. So you have some stuff that is really popular, like WordPress, WordPress multi-site. You have the LAMP stack or the mean stack, Drupal. So even Ghost, nice. So Ghost is like a headless CMS, I think. But in this case, I think we want a Ubuntu machine to run actually easy panel. So we're choosing this. We don't want to do this. Okay, so for the SSH key, it will create a default SSH key, because there's no default SSH key in my region. I think I'm okay with that. Automatic snapshot. It creates a daily backup image of my instance and all of the attached disks. I think I'm okay without it for today. Dual stack, this will provide us both IPv4s and IPv6. And then I think this is what you were talking about, Jason, the fact that you have like a fixed price for your for all of your needs. And I remember that we saw there's a minimum requirement of 2 gigabit of memory for running n8n. So I guess we're gonna choose this. But it's interesting how you can slice your compute requirements and your storage requirements, and even transfer. So you have like 3 terabytes of data transfer out from AWS. This is also like part of the free tier. for the first 90 days. So if you just wanna test this out, you're not going to pay anything if you kill the machine within 3 months, I guess. And then you have this instance name. Maybe you can call it n8n test. And yeah, maybe I don't know. Should be adding some tags, like maybe some project n8n automation. That is something that maybe will help, like establishing costs or like digging into the cost. So let's. I think I've completed everything that I needed.
Yeah, so I think just from the prerequisites, it's I think you need to have at least, I think, 2 GB of memory, at least 4 GB of database storage.
Okay.
And
so we're good with $12 a month.
I think so. Yeah, I think we should be good.
Let's try it out.
But yeah, obviously, as you scale up the amount of processing, because I think the model that it works on is that it's basically an instance, and the instance itself is doing all of this computation. So as you start to add more and more sort of users and people creating workflows, I think you would need to bump that up. But I think this should be good for us for now.
Okay, so I think this is gonna take just there you go. It's already up and running in here. Let's see. I think it's running, but I want to try and connect to it. Yeah, so you can connect using SSH here. What I wanted to do is to actually install EasyPanel on it. So EasyPanel, a customer of mine actually showed me this, and I was like, damn, I wish this existed when I was doing like just box build up and stuff like that. So what this gives you is I don't know if you folks remember, probably not, but there used to be something called EasyPHP, which would set up a LAMP stack onto your Windows machine, and that was like my first experience of like building something on a Windows machine with PHP. And I think that EasyPanel is kind of the evolution of it. It's like it will install all of your all of the stuff that you actually need, but it's even better because it's fully customizable, and it also has few templates. And I think we have the n8n templates as well. So all you need to do is to copy this, go here. Let's see if we're able to connect to our instance. There you go. So we're actually logged in on Ubuntu, and I think I need to authenticate. Oop. That's taking a while. I don't know why it's not taking input from my.
Maybe it's because it's only got like 2 gigs of memory.
Wow, come on. 2 gigabyte. Oh. Okay, there you go. I don't know what happened there. Sudo. I think there you go. I'm logging
straight to root, man.
Yeah. I think let's see. Let's see. Oh, not this one. I just wanted to copy this. Where is it? Oop.
Yeah, also when I think my first experience of web development was a cPanel, and I think we saw it in the options like cPanel and Web Host Manager. Yeah, I think also like I just remember the days of like FTPing stuff into like a folder somewhere, and it just like worked. And I was like, okay, well, I don't quite know what's going on or how it's working, but it did work. So,
and also, by the way, I mean, I trust EasyPanel, but every time you do this, like you basically what happens here is that we're curling a script that you find on get.easypanel.io, and then you're piping it into a shell. So you should never do this. Like I did right now,
especially as root.
Especially as root. But let's see. You can inspect this, I think, by doing. Let me see.
Yeah, you can just go and open up the script. I think it's
yeah. Let me. Can I do it here? Let me do it here. So whoop. No. Can you? I think you cannot see what I'm doing, right?
Yeah, that's better.
That's right.
Zoomed in.
Nope. So yeah, look at that. No. I think let's do it on I don't know. Dump. Or I think it has like something like
you can even open it in the browser, I think.
There you go.
You just go to
Yeah. Let me
It's quite simple.
Let me play with Visual Studio Code because I haven't opened it in like 2 weeks. I hate myself for that. But so this is the okay. It does like you should like you should definitely inspect this before you run it straight into a Linux box. So it looks like it was created on our server. So EasyPanel is there. Now, I think that the thing that we need to do, so in here, again, these are the IPv4 firewall rules, or what we call on AWS a security group. So what we want to do now is adding a custom TCP rule on port 3000, I guess, if I recall correctly. What is that? Here, port 3000. Yeah, you might want to restrict it to your only IP for testing. And I guess that what you can do is either go here, or I think we should have
scroll upwards.
There should be like a DNS name somewhere. Do you know where the DNS name is?
Yeah, I think that's what I was worried about. You might have to just do IP address there.
Okay, let's try it out. If somebody on the chat knows it, please let me know.
I think we'd have to do like domains and add that.
Yeah. Because if you get like an EC2 instance, you would get a domain name that is attached to AWS. But let's do this. So I've enabled the ports, as you can come there, and probably somebody is already like stolen credentials or doing stuff in there. Let's see. Okay, I need to set it up. Do you need? Do you have an email that we can use? And I'll stop sharing my screen. Maybe you can send it.
Yeah,
over.
You can just use Jason at makeops.
Jason at makeops.com. And I'm not going to tell what the password is. I'm gonna, because otherwise false.
It's fine. We were gonna delete it anyway.
Yeah.
Make it super simple so the rest of the audience can guess.
I mean, try it. Can you? Oh, I'm an idiot. Well, let me try it.
I got it, dude. I'm in.
How do you find about EasyPanel customers?
Nice.
Continue agree to it. Set it up. Okay. So not now. Okay, so I've already. Okay, this is like EasyPanel, and it's showing me, first of all, like some monitoring information about my machine, which I'm very thankful for. And I think there are some advanced monitoring is only available if you have a license. I don't think we need a license for this right now. But what we can actually do, I think there was a way to potentially action, no settings. I don't know where the projects, where the templates are. Let me see.
Maybe that play button. I feel like that might be.
Where is that?
At the top, there's like a.
This one?
No.
No, play actions.
Yeah,
no.
In dashboard there is.
Yeah.
A section there. Projects.
Project. Oh wow. Okay. I'm getting.
Right under your nose. Always is.
Let's call it n8n. Let's see if this will work. So my project is empty, and as you can choose by service. So see, you have like, these apps or MySQL, MariaDB. So you have WordPress, Docker. Wow, Docker. Is this Docker Compose? Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Let's have a look at templates. and there are a lot of
Those are
templates
some
in
good
here.
templates. Yeah.
Yeah, so like Blender as well. Again, sorry, getting distracted. Now let's go to n8n. There you go. There it is.
Easy.
So this is this version, and here's a yeah.
So I guess what's happening is I
Mhm.
I assume it's using containers because that like format there looks like a container image, and so I imagine if you SSH onto the box, it's probably, or you are already there, you could probably check that there's Docker containers available. And I think if you follow the normal deploy self-hosting n8n guide, it's also container based.
Yeah, it's
which
actually
I think
what
I'd recommend people to use.
Yeah.
Because
Let's
it's
see.
simpler.
Wow, it was already created. Okay, cool. So let's have a look at what's happening in here. It's just waiting for n8n to start. So I think this is the easiest. If I mean, I might be getting ahead of myself, but I think this might be the easiest way I found around to get started with a lot of open source or like host it yourself kind of tools. And I'm just trying to understand if this actually works. So, okay. Oh, it's doing a migrate, because I think we deployed the, wow, damn. So the editor is now accessible to localhost. And let's see then what. I think that we need to do the same here, enabling this port on, or maybe not. What is it that we need to do actually? So let's see. Let's set it here. So this is the thing that I haven't experimented with, so I need to kind of understand. Let's add, I think, HTTPS, and also I think the other thing is potentially. Let's have a look. And so I guess that if we go to this IP address, and we get to that page, sorry, that port. Oops. Oh, we will have to debug it live. There you go, unable to connect. So this is probably, we need to do something. We need to do something else. There it is. Okay, so this is the, I guess this is the one. I'll just test it out. Yep, looks like it's working. Oh, so I was sweating. So what did I do? I think what EasyPanel does is basically providing you with a domain name that basically proxies to your local host. So this is great, and I think that here, if you have your own DNS domain name, you can add it here. But for now, I'll be just happy to do this. Can I use your email, Jason, to set up your own account on here? And that would nuke this, because otherwise folks are going to. Oh, I think you dropped out of the stage. Sorry.
Yeah.
How did I remove you? I think I removed you.
No. I think my audio cut out again. For some reason.
Okay,
that's cool. But good thing you kind of went on without me, so that was good. So you could use jason@makeops.com.
Jason@makeops. Okay.
Yeah.
And the password. I'm gonna send you the password.
Yeah.
I don't want to receive. I don't want to spam you, or maybe I'll do, because I feel.
I'm already on there, so they.
Okay. Oh, 8 character, at least 1 capital letter. Okay. do this. And if you want to, let's save it. I'm gonna send you via private chat the password if you need it. I don't know.
It's quite nice that it gives you like a URL. So I think that was something we were worrying about before.
Yeah. So describe your company. We are education at this very moment, and we are actually business owner. Anyways, chat. You've been really quiet. So if you want to send us a message or something like that, please do, because we feel kind of lonely. Who will your automations mainly be for? I think my team, whatever. How big is your company? Well, it doesn't have the size that we are expecting, like less than 20 people. How do you hear about n8n? Friend, word of mouth, I guess. Maybe you folks will select podcasts or something like that. Let's do it. Okay. So get paid feature for free forever. That's great. It's a time limited offer as well. So folks, this is time is imperative here. And I'm going to send you an email, Jason. Jason@makeops.com.
I will
send you.
See if I receive.
Yep. And I guess I need to stop sharing my screen for a sec before I actually give out for free your license. So yeah, I think I don't know. I didn't have any sort of hope that this would have been actually working. So
always the optimist,
I guess that's good. I'm always. I mean, I think I've been the more optimist of the two of us, right? I guess. But I don't know. So I guess this is how you can get started really easily. And
should I send you the key? Do you want to like activate it?
Send it to my private chat here on our stream, and then I am going to try and find. Ooh, that's a very long key. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second, and I'm gonna make our bubble faces a bit bigger. But yeah, so it looks like this actually works, and I'm at the moment what I'm doing is I am having a look at. Actually, let me share it, and then I'll just paste it. I'll stop sharing my screen just before I paste the thing. Entire screen one. Whoop. There it is. So just to show you what I'm doing, I think I know where I need to paste the the activation key. And I think it's around here, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's important to highlight that it's there's different levels. I think similar to a couple of open source projects, there's like a free version, and then there's obviously like enterprise or paid for versions. I'm not too sure like the different trade-offs. I think one of them is like access to like external security stores. So if you wanted to like access, I think Vault or like external secrets, because I think the way that it works, right, is that say you wanted to integrate with Bedrock, you have to then provide API credentials for accessing Bedrock. And I think because it's all on an instance, sometimes there is a security consideration there.
Let's sorry, I'll just enter the activation key, and then oh no, damn. Okay, I'll just enter the activation key, and then
I mean, it should be a one use key.
Yep.
I hope.
Yep. And also, I'm thinking if anybody from n8n is here, you really need to get the. Let me share my screen again.
Hopefully it's not like hopefully I haven't lost that option, because we're gonna just delete the instance.
Oh damn!
But at least I've got the key for later. Maybe it's I don't know how many activations you're allowed.
I think you can do Jason plus. This is really me again at Makeops and get a new one.
So we're gonna build a workflow now.
Are we gonna? Are you gonna take over? Because you have.
No, I think you can do it if you
want. No. I'm too scared. No. Yeah, I can try.
Yeah, try.
Let's try. Let's try. No, okay.
What are we gonna build?
Yeah, I don't know. So first of all, let me explore a little bit here.
Yeah,
so
sure.
So you said Okay, so this is how you create a workflow and create credentials. So you were talking about credentials. So like, what kind of credentials do you actually need? Is it to access like downstream services or something?
Yes. So for instance, like I showed in the example of Webflow and Bedrock, for instance, each kind of like component in your workflow relies on credentials to access those APIs and basically get access to those third parties. And so what this might be, if you're like a DevOps person or if you're implementing this on behalf of your team, you might want to go in there and decide what tools are going to be used, and maybe you want to purchase like a team plan or something for certain APIs, and you want to load in your credentials here. The way that this works is that we'll probably need to use this to access Bedrock, and you'll probably have to use like a user IAM credential set. So you can try AWS there and see what it shows you.
Yeah, let's have a look. Because you cannot assume a role, I guess, here, right? So,
No.
region. No. Oh, secret key and access key. Okay.
So you basically put it in as if it's like an IAM user. And I mean, we can set that up too. And then once this is sort of saved, then you can, implement it as part of your workflow. So you can reference it as an option.
Okay. That's actually really cool. So I want to choose like a region here, and then I will have to like create. I think there's like the reason why you have a region here is that potentially like the AWS blocks will have like the AWS SDK, and this is how you configure them, right? That's cool.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
So this is interesting. I'm thinking I might not be able to create a user on my AWS account. Let's see.
I mean, I can send you some credentials from my account if you want. If you want to
and
try and do that.
I'm gonna try your bank account.
I've
So
already set it. I've already set it up, so
No.
we can, it's not gonna. Or we can leave that part out, or we can see how far we get.
Yeah. Let's try it out. But it was interesting to see like credentials, and you see that you have a lot of interesting like you said, Circle CI, for example.
I saw
So
Bitly
this
there as well.
Bitly. Okay, I can automate Bitly. Let's have a look. Bitbucket API, basic auth. Okay, and yeah, there was a lot of Anthropic as well. Nice. So you can go in there. Datadog. What? Whoa. Okay, folks in the chat, please do let me know if you have any ideas about like the kind of services that you would want to use in this. And I guess this is the executions. This is where we are monitoring the execution of workflows.
Yeah,
sounds good. Okay. I guess we. Oh, okay. So we have templates in here. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the one that I wanted to show you before. This is
these are the ones that are provided, I guess, by the community. So they've like, if you type in like apps, it'll like give you some common workflows.
Let's explore the marketing ones, because I always have a lot of I have a lot of things that I need to do with marketing. Maybe, or there's a startup that we. Okay, that's super cool. So let's see if there's anything with the AWS. AWS Bedrock chat model. 0 results. Damn. What else is there?
Well,
I think we should
maybe we can
work
create
to
one.
make. Yeah, we can create one, I
Next
guess.
episode.
Let's see if there's a AWS any other, because I saw for sure that there was like an AWS recognition thing. Yeah. Collect images from the web and send to Google Sheets. Okay, using recognition. This is actually really cool. Let's have a look at it. It was created 3 years ago.
Wow.
I am I'm so behind this sort of things.
Well, that's the thing. I think some of these like overnight success companies have actually just been around for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's quite simple.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, like it depends what. I'm not sure how long it will take to build something, but the other thing that I've also seen on the internet is that you can actually, because each template is basically a bunch of JSON, you can actually get like Claude or like an AI to sort of create them from scratch. So we can maybe try something like that if you want to. Or
yeah. I was looking at maybe one. Yeah, let's do. Oh, sorry, we're just exploring. So let's create something from scratch. And guide me, because I have no clue.
Well, do we want to have an idea of what we want to build? Should we?
Yeah.
Like, what do you feel like building? We can do like. I mean, we can maybe just try like something simple to start with, and then we can expand on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if the chat is actually sending us some messages or anything like that. No. Okay. So folks, if you have any ideas, please do let us know. And actually, let me see, because I'm not sure.
Should we try? Would you be able? Should we try just doing the LLM part?
Yeah.
Bedrock?
Yep. Let's
I've got
create
it already set up on my side. So I mean, if we need to copy paste that could also
credentials. Yeah, I can hide those. I think I can hide those steps. Or I guess let's try to create a user here, and then if it fails because I don't know, from security reason for restrictions on my AWS account, maybe at least like we have in the video, we show folks how to actually create an IAM user and how to like get the credentials out of it. I might get a ping on my pager, say, hey, what the hell are you doing? Okay, I already have 4 users, so maybe I can create a new user. Yeah, you see, I have a few ones. That's great.
888 days old.
Yeah, but it doesn't have credentials, so
I know.
okay.
Yeah, but I've got similar ones. I think I've
like
sometimes they just hang around there.
So let's call it n8n to Bedrock. Yeah. Provide user access management console. No, we don't need this. Add user to a group. Can we attach policies directly? I think so.
Yeah, we can do.
Let's do let's see if there's a Bedrock. Full access? Nah. Bedrock read only.
I think you need full. I think we just go full access, man.
I want to inspect it before. Look at that. No. Bad.
I think what you can do is you can. I don't know if there's one that's just for Bedrock Invoke, or something like that. And I'm not sure if Invoke is considered a. I don't think it's a read. I think it is a.
No, it's a write. It should be a write, I think.
Yeah.
But this also okay. But this role to SageMaker. So, folks, it's really important that you take security really, really, really at
These
heart.
are AWS managed though, so it will basically give access to everything in Bedrock.
In Bedrock. Yeah, I think there's also some EC2 stuff. Okay. I know, or is it disallowing it? No, it's all allowed. Okay. I guess I mean, I think for the scope of this demo, I think we can try it out. And
I think a good approach, I think, just when trying stuff out, is like to just go a little bit more open and then check CloudTrail, or start to scope down afterwards.
I prefer doing the other way around. I know that it's kind of frustrating, but like I start with like the bare minimum, and then I'll be okay. I'm a bit more paranoid than you are.
All right.
Okay, so we have this. I think.
I think that should be fine.
User. This is the end-to-end to Bedrock, and then we go to security credentials. And now I'll stop sharing my screen. And Jason, you will have to entertain us before.
Yeah. So what is happening at the moment is there's a create access key option, and so you will get the option to create an AWS access key ID, and then there's also an access key secret. And it's important, especially for this setup, because it's important to keep that secure. Like especially if you're using coding tools, you don't want to leak these credentials, because they are permanent credentials, as in like anyone who has the credentials can get access to, in this case, Bedrock. So it's different from roles. So I guess the best practice would be to use roles, but because of using Lightsail and just the demo purposes, we're just gonna go straight for the.
Sorry, I just came back here because so here there's I think there's an interesting screen here that that tells you, you know, first of all, you should avoid using long-term credentials like access key. Yeah, so that's like the basics, I would say. And there's a way that AWS kind of protects you from yourself and say, okay, like, so these are the kind of the use cases that that are recommended or not recommended, or like some alternatives. So for example, if I go into like command line interface, so it says, oh, you know, you have some sort of alternatives that are more secure. So for example, you could decide to use Cloud Shell, which has temporary credentials, or you might want to plug in IAM Identity Center that is constantly like brokering the temporary credentials as well. And what else is there? Application running on AWS Compute Service. Again, there's an alternative here. So it kind of guides you through throughout like alternatives that are more secure. And I really like this. So in this case, it is a third-party service, I think. What do you think, Jason? Is this the category?
I think third party or other.
Yeah. So in here, like
I think it's just recommending your better option. As I mentioned, it's like it's a permanent credential, meaning that anyone with it can just get a session and start messing around. Whereas a lot of these other ones are like temporary, like IAM roles. I think it's quite common, especially when you're new to AWS, to just use a user for everything. But it does.
There are better ways.
Yeah,
there are better ways. So in this case, I guess I can choose like third-party service, and and I also need to confirm this. And I understand the recommendation, but I want to proceed with that anyway. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I don't know at which point in time.
I think it does. I think it does blur out the secret. So
it blurs out the secret.
I think it does. Yeah.
But
yeah. So the next page, you will see that there's the ID and the secret. So the secret is usually like a bunch of stars, and the best is to just note that down. And then I don't know how far we'll go into it, but I think we'll probably go into n8n, create a credential, and then update it with those details.
Yeah. So let me see. I'm just gonna send it over here in our private chat, I hope.
It's just me, you, and StreamYard.
Yeah. Well, maybe I don't trust StreamYard anyway. I think I'll just.
Well, I think the thing is, after this, we can just delete the user, and then.
Yeah. I guess you're right. So let me share the screen back. Entire screen. One. Whoop. Here. So see, like this. You're right. Like this has been blurred out. And by the way, if you want to, you can download the CSV file with the data in it. I think I can go back to here. Nope. Where was that? Here. I think I can go back to the home page, maybe overview. Yeah. And I can create a credential. Add first credential, AWS. Going here, continue. I think we were in London, right? So
because it's going to be calling Bedrock, you're just going to make sure that it's got in a region where you have the access model that you need.
So I actually we can show this as well. I think it's valuable. So I'm going to choose Ireland mainly because I'll look at you here. Mainly because I actually need to copy this as well, because otherwise, so I'll show you it later. I'll show you that. Just remind me. I'm gonna choose Ireland, and then I'll tell you why in a sec. So Ireland, access key ID. This is okay to share publicly, what it's not okay to share. I'm just like gonna try to understand if blah blah. Okay, if I paste it here, it's still going to be okay. This is not temporary. Nice. There's a way to add a custom endpoint. This is really, really, really cool. But but not for all of them. Not for Bedrock.
Yeah,
for example. Anyways, doesn't
I
matter.
guess that so that might be used when if you're deploying it inside of a VPC, maybe.
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
might have like a VPC private link.
Yeah, no, but
VPC.
was also thinking about another use case that I had in mind that came to me a few days ago. So, for example, I was thinking of doing something similar to what other services actually do, and like just provide you with an API key without the need of having like an AWS account or something like that. So I was thinking, if these services are allowing me to change the endpoints here, I could do that, but whatever. So we have our access key, we have our secret there, and yeah, I guess we can save it, test. That's cool.
I think also on the left there, you can check this. Let's see what sharing does. I think that's how you can. Yeah, so this is where it comes to like the premium stuff. Is like,
so like this is kind of personal, right? So I can use it for myself, but if I need a team, I probably need to buy a license.
Yeah. So, but that's I think important, because obviously as you get bigger, there's a certain point where you need to start looking at like, even though you've granted access, you want to kind of scope it down to who's, maybe you want the marketing department to access, certain APIs and not your dev team. But yeah, that looks like it's created. Was there an option where it tested it?
I think so.
Yeah,
tested successfully.
Okay,
let's try again.
Yeah,
like,
pretty snappy.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's the easiest way to get AWS credentials, but also the less secure. So it should be working. Okay,
so now we can create a workflow.
Yeah, let's create a workflow. I think it's big plus button workflow.
Yeah,
there you go. Okay, so like let's do it this way. Like I want to get all of my articles on community.aws. If I do it from like community.aws and then I do at
well, why don't we start with just so we've set up the AWS credential. So let's like set up the LLM part, and so we can see, because I showed you in my one that you're using Bedrock and that to call the language model, so we can see what the inputs are for that. And then so you basically add, and then you're going to look on the right, I think, try and search for
I think
so that you first have to add a trigger. I think for now we can just trigger manually.
Yeah, so trigger manually basically means like, okay, I'm gonna test my workflow, this is going to be my input. And is there a way to, like, if I double click on this,
so manually is just like it's something that you run. If you wanted to do some sort of operational task that you just do yourself, then you do that. If you want, there's also, I think, you could trigger via a form where you can specify like input parameters. So similar to what I showed earlier.
Yeah,
you can do that. But I think the next one is when you press a little plus on the next one. That's where you get some of the interesting connectors. And so I think we look for, I think you just search for LLM. There's like a LLM, I think they call it basic LLM chain.
Okay, nice.
And then here is where you basically that middle section is your settings. So you can say source for prompt. I think you can go a little bit down.
Let me zoom in a little bit for the benefit of the
That's amazing.
So so what would you say? So I need to,
so the source for prompt.
Okay, here add prompt. No. Source for prompt. Okay.
Yeah. So there, I think you can just say define below. Okay. So we're going to just basically define a basic prompt, and then if you you can just there where it says fixed, you can either have fixed or expression. And expression allows you to use those like sort of those brackets.
Okay, which are variables or something like that?
Yeah, so the basically any input that you have on the left there will come up as like a JSON object, and then you can reference it inside of it. And usually what I do is I click expression, and then there's a little tiny little square. If you press that, it'll open up into like the proper prompt view.
Okay,
and
I'm gonna
that's
ask
where
you.
you will put in your prompt.
I'm going to ask you a very dumb question, I think.
No
Is there a
such
way
thing.
to is there a way to express all of this in code, and like can I export it and import it into a different instance, something like that? Do you know? Or chat, do you know?
So I think you can. So let's assume you've put the prompt in. Oh, it depends. Are you talking about the prompt? You want to manually update the prompt? Or just
I was
the whole
thinking like
workflow?
the workflows, the whole workflow.
So all of those templates that we were looking at earlier are all sort of, I think they're JSON templates. So if you exit this view here on the little X on the top, and if you go, you'll have to go back to canvas in the top left.
Okay.
So, and then in the top right, there's those three little buttons, and you can then download. And I think that would either download it and then obviously import from file. That's where you want to like load in a separate one. And I think I don't know what that share button does on the left. After left of save, there's like a little share.
You can collaborate. Yeah. That's probably
okay,
that's bringing in other folks. Okay, cool.
So the next, I think, just to continue with the LLM chain, the next thing that you do is just on the bottom there. There's the model. So back to the canvas.
You can plug it in.
So it's quite generic. You can use other providers, but there you can then go and choose the Bedrock chat model.
Yeah, because
and then here's where you put your credential. So you select your credential.
This is the AWS account here.
Yeah, that's what we created, and you can choose which model to use.
Oh, nice. Do you know if okay, let's do.
I use the Sonnet, but I don't think I haven't seen if 4 is available yet, but maybe it might be in certain regions because I don't know if it's.
Yeah, I think it's available in the US already. Oh, nice. So you can add to this. So, folks, by the way, the reason why I chose Ireland, I'll just show you that, is that so when you open up Bedrock by default in like a region that maybe you haven't used it, you have to enable Bedrock model access. So you want to go to Amazon Bedrock in the region that you're going to use, and then select model access. And then in here, as you can see right now, I have access granted to all of my all of the models that are available here. But for example, if I go to, I don't know, let's go to, I'm pretty sure I never used the Tokyo region. It's too much. It's too far away from where I reside. And then I go to model access. So here, like, it's likely that in your AWS account in the region that you haven't enabled before. Ooh, we have Cloud Sonnet 4 in Tokyo. Maybe we should use Tokyo.
I think that's using. Is that cross-region inference?
Yeah. Cross-region inference. Yeah. So what you might want to do is to go here to. You might want to be specific on the models that you want to enable, or you can enable all models here. Let's do enable specific models, just because I don't use this region that much. And let's go to, for example, Claude 3.7 Sonnet. Next, I'm happy with that. Submit. Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, so this is only like for, I guess, for new accounts, and like the first time you use Bedrock. If you're already using Bedrock, you probably would have enabled them at least.
Yep.
You will need to do that before using n8n because it will error.
Yep. And let's go back to n8n then. Yes. Any questions? No questions. Whoop. There it is. So Claude 3 Sonnet, going back to where we are. So what were we doing here? So we are configuring the LLM that we want to interact with.
So this is the model that will be used when you're doing your prompt. So the first component we looked at was where you actually define the prompt, and that's quite independent of which model you use. But here we're specifically saying that when you use that prompt, it must be with Claude via Bedrock. And these things like the temperature, the max number of tokens, that's a way you can limit the amount of tokens that are, I think it's output, just to try and restrict the costs, because you know the way the Bedrock pricing works is it's on a per token kind of model.
Yeah, so I'm restricting it to 1,000 tokens in output, and also so the default temperature for this was 0.7. I want it to go absolutely rogue. So 1 is the value I'm choosing. I want to have a lot of variability here, and then
once that's done, I think it auto saves, and then you can just press the back to canvas button at the top left.
Let's have a look. Woohoo! Connected to AWS Bedrock. Yeah.
And then we haven't specified a prompt, but maybe just we can just try like a basic prompt to see if it will work.
Yeah. I have my favorite go-to. So when chat message received. Okay. So I think this happened because we chose AWS Bedrock chat model, right? So it added this. So I guess we can get rid of this when clicking.
I think you still need to. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think you still need to trigger. But if you click on the chat message received, I think it opens up a chat interface. Maybe.
This I think is the configuration.
We'll try test chat and see what happens.
Yeah. Where here open chat.
Yeah, open chat.
Okay. Whoop. Okay. I guess that you can send this. Okay. So I have my favorite prompt ever, which is reply.
Before we do that, so just this is what's nice about it. So let's put in like a message or something, and let's assume that this is going to be some sort of input that we get later down the line.
Wow. Okay.
You can see it triggers, and now when we open up the LLM chain, we can see on the left the inputs. So this is the schema kind of style. So you can see there. You can also flip between JSON mode.
Yeah, I really wanted to see JSON. That's right.
Yeah, and so now when we go to in the middle section, when we go to the text, so there's a little bit up. So there's that text where we're going to define the prompt. A little bit almost there down.
Here. Okay. Here. Sorry.
So now you click on that little bottom right button there, because we want to use expression. Yeah. And so now if you use I think it's curly brackets.
Double curly brackets, I say.
Yeah, or you can even drag. So if you click on chat input and just drag it into expression, it pops out for you. And so now you can assume that it's going to do a substitution there. So now you can write the prompt around it.
Okay. Oh, that's so cool. So I can say, let's do your annoyed teenager. This is my favorite prompt ever. You're an annoyed teenager, and your task is to reply to the following message. Okay. Let's keep it safe for work though, because I'm streaming. Okay, so let's do this. This is the
so there it's populated, and now you should be able to test step. I think
this one.
Yeah, let's see if that works. And so what it should be doing in the background is it's firing the Bedrock chat model, and you can see there is an output.
Fantastic.
And on the right there at the top, you can switch between outputs and logs.
Sorry. So it's what is it? Sorry, the logs here. Logs.
Outputs and logs. So that's the logs, and then the output is basically the raw text. And then this would be something that you could then pass off to the next sort of component in your workflow. So you can see size, roles, eyes. You can see it's basically done that prompt. Yeah. So I guess I don't know. I didn't think we could get to this point this quickly. So we deployed it. We have it up and running. We do have a domain.
I mean, ideally, like I can share this with well, the rest of my team, and have them like create this workflow for me now, I guess.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I
like
probably
the next,
need to. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. So I mean, the next phase is like once you've created the basic workflow like this, you at the top right you save it, and then you flip it to from inactive to active,
Mm-hmm.
and then that would basically make it like yeah. So there's two different modes. There's like the testing mode, which is debugging and stuff, and then there's a production. And I think with the production, if you click on the chat, it might give you like a on the
Here
yeah. Open that or click on the chat block
in here.
in the work
Oh,
in the
no,
workflow
here.
there. Yeah,
The workflow.
is there
Okay.
like a
There should be
there? So you
maybe
can actually make there's a parameter there to make publicly available.
Okay.
And then
Ooh.
that would give you a URL. And then if you go to that,
Let's try it out.
it might actually be like an available.
Not found.
Oh, maybe because you need to save it once we've updated it. You could add authentication as you probably should do. But
Where is that? Authentication here, basic.
authentication.
Yeah, basic of select credential. Okay, I would have to do
Yeah.
like a new credential.
I think for
okay.
now, just we can maybe just
hostage basic authentication, maybe none. Okay.
And then there's an initial message, and I think
Okay.
if you just go back to Canvas, and then we'll save it. Just save at the top.
Yeah, because okay, because I guess we need to wait for like once it's active, it's not going to automatically deploy changes, right?
I think it will. So it is saved,
Okay.
and so now I think if you go back to that URL,
Let's have a look.
I think it should be
Oh damn!
available
Wow.
there. So now you've got a chat,
Okay.
and now if you chat into it, I don't know how the response works, but it will at least trigger.
Wow.
There. Okay, so it
Done.
does actually respond. So yeah, so you've basically created like a chat, and what's really cool about this is you could potentially have like an input. You could do some sort of like manipulation on the input to like give me a summary of what this is about, and then you as like the human in the loop, as we were talking about earlier, can either review, or you can like give guidance, or you can like sort of trigger next steps. What we haven't gone into is like I think n8n also has like an agent feature where you can define quite complicated agents. But yeah, this is already like I think a good first step.
Yeah, because I guess like with all of the kind of integrations that we've seen so far, there's a lot of things that we can actually do it. And wow, Simon, we do have the first question of today. How are the cost implications shown to consider which LLM is selected? Okay, I'll put on back my hat as an AWS solutions architect here. Simon, thank you so much for your question. So I think there are a few considerations that you want to do, but most of it, like if you're talking about like using Bedrock, there's a Bedrock pricing page, AWS Bedrock pricing, and I'll send it over in the comments in here as well. But you can hear like you have all of the models that are available on AWS Bedrock or Amazon Bedrock, sorry. And for example, the ones that we have used is Anthropic Claude 3.7, right? Sonnet. So you have all of the pricing here, and you see that the pricing is based on your input tokens and your output tokens. So usually input tokens is something that you might have some sort of degree of control on, because these are like depending on, well, the system prompt that you write, then the prompt that the users add. There are some other techniques like adding retrieved context to the prompt. So you are inflating the context that will be presented to the LLM. And these are usually the more like the cheapest tokens that you can have. And then you have like the output tokens. And if you've seen in the initial configuration that I did of this workflow, help me out here.
Yeah.
So
I think we've
I said
specified
like
the max.
Yeah,
And so
the
that means
maximum.
that per 1,000, like that's going to be the max
Mhm.
per invocation.
And by the way, I was saying that there is I don't know, maybe need to switch. Oh no, there you is. So you have like the token usage estimate. So you have completion tokens, prompt tokens, and the total token. But I think there was
This is where I get excited, because I'm like, now I'm thinking, could we put that into DynamoDB? And so you could have a running total of how many tokens your particular workflow has been using.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm
So
like,
if you go, there you go.
I'm going to be up all night, Giuseppe.
Yeah. So like, have a look at this as well. Like if you go back to the basic LLM chain, you switch to logs out of the outputs, and you also have like, sorry, the amount of tokens that it took. I think it's for both operations, right? For both like the input
I'm
and
not
the
sure.
output.
Maybe hover over that eye and see.
Yeah. So the prompt is
So,
23 tokens, and the completion is 90 tokens. So, so Simon, this is how you should. So from a cost perspective, this is the page that I would recommend you to go. I'm sending it. Actually, I need to send it from LinkedIn. Just go a sec.
And I think there's also there's different models have different price.
But also, different models have different strengths or different kind of usages. So like this is where the one that I often use for like day-to-day tasks is a Claude Haiku, because it's really cost effective from a perspective of input, and especially when you're doing stuff like retrieval augmented generation that has a lot. But if you want to get, I think Claude 3.5 Haiku is really good for like summarization or like and entity extractions or categorization, sort of the things that are like summarizing or like shrinking the information. And I use it quite a lot because as you may have witnessed, I talk a lot and I write a lot, and I want to just like synthesize that sort of things. But I think that when I'm actually reviewing code, I'm using Claude 3.7 Sonnet most of the time, just because I couldn't get my hands onto Claude Sonnet 4 yet, because apparently it's one of the best out there.
And also with the workflows, you could have multiple models doing multiple things. So if it's like a small, like, does this word exist in this paragraph, or like small things, you could use a lighter model like Haiku. But if you wanted, especially for longer context, if you wanted to, for instance, take a transcript and come up with a summary, you might want to use Sonnet or Opus, or the bigger models. But yeah, so you can have different levels within the same workflow as well.
No. And yes, so the main, I would say, the token, the economics of dealing with with these LLMs, especially if you are using Bedrock, they're all based on input and output tokens, and that's kind of where you need to kind of wrap your head around when it comes to this. And I think there's I've seen a few options to kind of estimate the tokens. I might add some comments here because I cannot remember exactly, but there are some models that maybe you can run even in your browser to just understand how many tokens is your prompt, the prompt that you are submitting, without actually going to like the model to understand how many tokens are your prompt is comprised of. But yeah, so maybe should we just like explore some of the various connectors that we have here?
Yeah, so the main ones are like flow and core. So typically a lot of the time, if you don't have a built-in integration, you would tend to go to core, and then there's both HTTP requests and webhooks. So you might be thinking like, how do you get data from some third-party system into n8n? That's where you use a webhook. So it's basically an HTTP request that comes from either somewhere in your application or like another third-party tool. And then what you do with that is it gives you like an endpoint, and then you basically just post to that endpoint and you get the data coming in as a separate execution. The other side is that obviously when you want to call some other third party, maybe it's an internal tool or maybe it's your own APIs, then you use an HTTP request. So it would be maybe you want to update a value in your database, or you want to call some custom stuff, the HTTP request, and that's how you get data from n8n out into another system. There's other ones there, like I think the FTP and those kind of things. I haven't really played around too much with that. And these are kind of like the two main ways that you bring data in and data out. The other one is code. Is like you can, again, in the core, anything that's like outside that hasn't got a dedicated sort of plugin or block, you can always use the code. I think they've got JavaScript. I think they are trying to work on Python as a beta.
Yeah, beta. Okay.
But JavaScript, you basically get the object from the left side, and you can manipulate it using sort of whatever JavaScript you want. And I've had to do that a few times where I'm either I don't know the tools that well, or I'm just it's kind of like a go-to if you want to like generate timestamps and stuff like that. I find that's also quite useful there. But yeah, this code block is almost like the last resort. And then the other side, if you go back, there's kind of like flow kind of type blocks. So branching, you might want to have two outputs from one single input in the flow. So these are like merges, ifs.
Okay. So like basic like logic. So there's an if.
It's basic logic. So the thing to also bear in mind is so a lot of the time people are connecting these to like a spreadsheet kind of application. And so what actually happens is it can ingest multiple rows at the same time. So I think I showed it in my diagram, is that sometimes you have like 4 or 5 rows that are being processed in the same batch. This makes it really like efficient when you're working with it. But that sometimes means that you might have to do like a loop over each item in the batch, or you might have to, say you wanted to summarize like the last 5 emails that you've got and you've managed to get them into a sort of CSV. You might want to merge all of them together and then send it to the LLM. So that's where you'd use things like merge and filter and breakouts. And it's kind of like a bit of an art form, I guess, to know these. But I haven't tried it, but I've also heard you can get language models to generate some of these templates. But yeah, and then there's other ones. I think if you just the other one I mentioned is the data transformation. So usually these are common
a little bit
above flow.
Oh, sorry, data transformation.
Yeah. So those are things like often it's like converting from HTML to Markdown, especially if you're using language models. Like I've never tried edit image, but basically a lot of the language models use Markdown as a base, and where you might be ingesting data, you might have HTML, and so being able to convert between those two is quite fun. And especially, like as I was showing with the Claude models, I think the prompting, they tend to use these sort of HTML kind of style tags. So especially if you want to extract something from the prompt and then do something further from there, it's a great tool to use.
Okay, that's great. I just wanted to explore maybe other triggers because I'm interested in. So one of the things that I'm mostly interested in, say for example, is on S3 upload. Because I wrote so many Lambda functions that are doing stuff when S3 is uploaded, and I'm like, when an object is uploaded to S3, and I'm like, okay, it's great, but like if I can have it here, that would be it would be even better.
Yeah. So try search for S3. I don't know if.
Whoop. There are two, like S3 and AWS S3.
I think the AWS S3. I think it might be because it's a quite a long old project. It might be a new one, but I think they're.
When bucket is created, file actions, upload a file, right?
Yeah. So okay. This is a new domain for me, but
no.
I feel like this is. If you go back, is this a trigger? I think it is.
I'm not sure. This is
no. I think that's an upload to S3. So maybe it's maybe it was that other one. So if you go to the plus again.
Yep. So we search for
no. So go back. So because you clicked on that little node, it's like assuming that it's like triggers. Okay. So you have to if you go in the top right, there's like a little plus there. I think that will.
I will get to
some of the triggers.
Let's have a look. So this is because this looks like
those are all actions.
Yeah.
And the other one, I think those are also actions. But now I see there's also now like three other blocks. So go back. There's S3 tool, AWS S3 tool. I don't know what those do.
No clue. I mean, I think we will have some.
So what we could create. This is a place where we could create like a custom a custom webhook. What you might just do in the meantime is either trigger it manually, and then from that manual you could like fetch a file from S3. So similar to like I had where you input the Webflow blog ID.
Okay, so like
you could have like an interface where you say I've uploaded my file, and then I'll just put the URL for S3. You can then break it up and then use a download option. Or you might have to create. This is where you would use a webhook to maybe trigger from an S3 event. I don't know if event bridge is supported. Maybe that could be something. But maybe we can have a look at that as another. Maybe try event bridge.
Nope. But maybe event trigger. Maybe it has some.
I think that's Eventbrite. That's like the app.
Eventbrite. Okay, no, sorry. Lol.
Yeah. But what you could do is, I mean, in AWS, you could go, because AWS EventBridge very similarly also has an HTTP target. So you could have your EventBridge rule set up from S3 to trigger the EventBridge rule, and then trigger a webhook. And you'd be able to like basically, I think it does a post, or you can choose which endpoint in a post for that. But just conscious of time, I think we can maybe do like a wrap up, and then maybe we can have some goals. If we want to do this next time, we can maybe take it further, or I don't know. What do you suggest, or what do you think is?
So what I would like to do is create automations for all of the marketing stuff, or a lot of the thought leadership stuff that I do for this page, or like other I would say other activities that I do for AWS, for example. So one of the things that I would like to do is like take these video, like get out the transcript, build a I don't know, a pre-promotion. Well, pre-promotion maybe doesn't make sense, but a post-promotion post for LinkedIn. Maybe do a community.aws kind of skeleton for a blog post, and then I think the other use case that I had in mind was extracting like some highlights from the video. So I don't know if this is possible at this point, but like, we can always explore that, because I think that with some models, multi-model models, maybe there is a way for us to like find out where the most interested content is, and like get the I don't know, the timestamps, and having like the I don't know, maybe elemental media convert or something like that to actually like cut out the snippets, or maybe on Twitch, for example. I know that you can somehow automatically or semi-automatically like create highlights. So I wanted to explore those sort of things, or maybe even YouTube, some stuff like that, and then maybe even create some forms for the folks on the chat, maybe to get in touch, or all this sort of things. So I think that all of the things that I want to automate around my content making journey, I think that would be great. So we can spend some time in
which one do you
actually
spend
do
the
that.
most time on?
I think it's creating the blog posts for community.aws, because there are many.
What is usually in the blog post? Is it just like what was it about, or like a recap?
So it's actually a recap. So if I go
Okay.
here, for example, last year I was doing this for a show called Let's Build a Startup, and as you can see here, there is like the title and an SEO friendly kind of tagline, and then all of these things, like I was writing manually, and also like the what is that? And also like the extraction of the Twitch highlights. I don't know what they're not showing right now, and also the extraction of these metrics from the show. So and the
is that from the Twitch APIs, or how does
yeah. Those are like coming from the Twitch API.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can already think of a couple of like next sort of steps we can try. Maybe in the next episode we can do, like, first of all, I'm looking at this really nice sort of happy image.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I was thinking
we could
about
take the video, maybe do a transcription on it, because you want to know what it's about. Maybe we can use transcribe for that. I think it does support video, if I'm not mistaken. And then we can get it to suggest an image, and then maybe we can try prompt, I think it's a Nova, to generate an image for us.
Yeah.
That could be a first step, or we could do a summary. I think maybe that even just that like transcription part, because I think that's, once you've got the text of the video, then that's where you can start to do,
and also I'm
prompting.
thinking more in general, like maybe the shorts, short form for like maybe publishing onto TikTok or maybe a YouTube Shorts, whatever the destination is. But that's kind of I think it's more elaborated because there is a little bit more of understanding. Anyway, let's do a recap. I think this is what we can do in the next few weeks. But let's have a recap of what we did today. So first of all, we talked a little bit about n8n, and why is it useful? Why would it be useful for your lean team in your startup? And then we found, I would say, the most cost-effective and quickest way to deploy it on your AWS account. And the reason we want to do that is there might be some workflows that we want to keep to us, or like, for example, the credentials that we have created, they will keep living into just our AWS account, I think, and maybe for regulatory, or even just for like having a having within your AWS estate. I don't know if there are any other reasons why, but I guess that like with $12 a month, we can get by and having n8n actually working, or if you just like wanted to explore it before actually committing to maybe buying it from the AWS marketplace, or buying directly from n8n. And then we deployed it. We created some credentials for a user that will be able to actually make use of Amazon Bedrock, and then we created a very basic chatbot interface that replies as an annoyed teenager. But I guess I'm hoping that this was useful to all of you folks. And while we're getting to the close and the top of the hour, Jason, I wanted to thank you for patiently guiding me through n8n, and also for holding my hand while we were trying to deploy something completely in public.
It's great. I think it went very smoothly. I really liked the how quick it was. I like, even myself, like I did it previously just using bare light sail, but I think that easy panel, like that
Easy
was
panel. Yeah.
really quite a step up, and it just makes the process a lot quicker.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's been great to go through this, and I think like the next steps is where it's important, and I guess delivering value is where it's important. And yeah, we can start to build upon this and try some other integrations, and try work with videos and all that good stuff.
But also, chat, do let us know and send us some messages on LinkedIn if you have any ideas of how we can improve this. Again, this has been AWS Startup Garage. It's an experimental form of building content, and thank you for being here with us and being patient with us. Jason, thank you so much. We are coming to the top of the hour. I will have to jump on another call, as I usually say.
Worries.
But thank you so much, folks, for sticking with us, and I'll see you probably in the next couple of weeks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, cheers. Bye, everyone.
Okay, sorry.